location at the LaGrange Housing Authority with Jaja Hurd, Chief Executive Officer. How are you doing today, young lady?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Now, before I met you, there's only one other lady that I knew that had the name Jaja. So tell us a little bit, how were you given that name, and just tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, my mom tells me that she was watching Green Acres when she was in labor.
Okay.
But of course, that's Eva Gabor, Jaja's twin sister.
Mhm.
But she loved Green Acres, and she knew that they were sisters. And she also had a baby book, she said, at the end, and the name Jaja was there. So she loved it. She said it was between Jaja and Georgette, because my dad's name is George, and I'm so glad she named me Jaja, because I don't want to be a Georgette. So
Well,
that's actually how I got it.
So Green Acres was relevant to your name?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
cool,
it was.
cool.
Yes.
Wanted to stop by and talk with you today. Well, first of all, tell us, how long have you been serving in this leadership role here at the Housing Authority?
Well, May 1st was 3 years. I've been here 3 years.
3 years?
Yes.
And how did you come about being placed in this position?
Well, it's a cute little story, I think, because like when someone asked me, particularly one of my sorors asked, you should apply for the job. I also go to church with her. And I thought, no, because I was working at the college then, West Georgia Tech, and I loved it. I was enjoying it, and I'm like, no, I don't want to leave. So then another person in the community by the name of Anita Hatton said, Jaja, I think you should apply for this job that I'm aware of. So once she asked me, I thought, well, what is the job? And she told me, and I thought, wow, the Housing Authority. And I know what the Housing Authority was, but I said, okay. So time passed, and what I did was did some research on what the Housing Authority does, and I also called to Tuskegee. I have a friend there who knew the lady at that Housing Authority, and I asked her could I come visit with her for about 3 hours, and she did, about 3 or 4 hours, and she told me all about what the Housing Authority does, and she also said, Jaja, you would be a perfect fit. And I said, for real? I said, well, I'm kind of just researching it. And I want to make sure, my husband and I had talked about it. I had even encouraged him to apply. I said, well, why don't you apply? I'm happy at the college, and I was also teaching at Columbus State. And he said, well, no, you would be a perfect fit. So we prayed about it, and then as we interviewed, I knew the entire time that I was second place. I was never in first place for the job. Another lady was in first place. She had actually had housing authority experience, development experience, and I think they were looking for that. But one thing that they were looking for was somebody that was from LaGrange, that knew LaGrange and knew the community. So second place the entire time. One night we had I was here from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. interviewing. I had to interview with every board member, all 6 of them, all 6 of those board members. And so once that happened, I was like, okay. Once that happened, I'm saying second place. I'm like, well, I'm fine. If I don't get the job, I'll stay at the college. I'll be fine, perfect. And that night when I left about 9:30, I found out that they chose me.
Wow. I bet it was very exciting.
Yes, because they said whatever the last interview I interviewed last with Ricky Wolf, and I talked about life. I talked about, no understanding property and people, and they said that you just overwhelmed them with that, and I thought, for real? So I was even ecstatic to even get the job.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I know with the 3 years that you've been here, you've implemented some major changes. You've won several awards that we may talk about a little later. But tell us about some of the changes, at least 2 or 3 changes. You're doing a lot of positive things here. We want to hear about some of those changes that you've implemented since you've been in this position.
Well, one of the changes that I am so adamant about is getting the residents, our residents, to understand what is public housing and how it works. And I don't think they've ever had a concept of how it actually works. It's just been, I need a place to live, so I'll go fill out an application. But public housing comes with, taxpayers' dollars. That's who pay for residents to live because it's subsidized housing. But getting them to understand that it is important to work. It is important to be a taxpayer. It is important to understand that somebody subsidized housing for you. So we don't want you to be in that place. So that's a matter of changing the mindset and introducing things to them that they may have never seen or heard. But I want them to kind of understand how the world works. So it's just not this world that I have to depend on public housing and I can't get any further in life. So those changes are basically understanding your lease, what's in that lease, what you can and cannot do. Because I hear a lot of times, well, they didn't used to do it, but it's been there the whole time. It was always in the lease. It just wasn't implemented or followed. So I'm a big stickler on we gotta follow the rules because we are also implementing someone else's money. So we've got to be cognizant of following the rules and making sure that everybody else follows the rules. The second thing is to empower the residents. I think they've got to be empowered in a way to know that they're better than public housing. This is not your last stop. This is not all that you can get. You can become a homeowner. You can get that dream job. You can go back to school. So we've got to empower them as well. And the community. Understanding that this community is just not this little place that sits here at Lucy Morgan and we're just a community by ourselves with people that don't work. You know, we have many people here that work from Kia to Interface to Power Tech that actually work and they actually pay regular rent like you and I would pay. You know, they don't pay a subsidized rent. They pay.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it doesn't have to. You can live here. You can apply. Now that they've changed something, you may not qualify because you may be over income, but we have plenty of people that live here and they pay $800, $700 in rent because they do not meet the income requirements that are here. So everything is based off your income, and there's a formula that HUD gives us that we have to use. So I want the community to understand that this is just not people that are looking for handouts. Yes, we have some, I would have to say, but not all. So the ones that we do have, we want to capture them in a way that the community welcomes them. They become productive citizens just like you and I. They're engaged in the community. They're giving back. They're doing those types of things. But the Housing Authority is not just a handout. And it's not just this place that sits over here and we just give things to people that are less fortunate. But we're a place that has people that are smart, bright, intelligent, and they want to move on in life as well.
Wow, that's awesome. Changing the mindset, that's very key, and starting there. I want to take you back, I think, to last year. I think you had 4 individuals come up to you and said they did not want to be involved in gangs or whatnot, and they wanted you to put them to work.
Right.
Did I say that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
When they came to you, when they first came to you, what was your initial response?
Well, my initial response was like, okay, I'll get back with you, because they came back and back and you know, they would call Miss Heard. They'd stop me at my truck. They even wrote me a note that I just dumped in my purse, and I forgot I actually had it. And then one day they walked to the Grigg Center, and I was just happened to be there for something else, and they said, we want to work. So I thought they may be serious. I said, well, meet me back at the office at 10:30, and they were here at 10 in the lobby.
At 10?
At 10.
On time?
On time. And they stood right there where they're standing, and I said, this time I needed to really sit and listen, and they said, well, Miss Heard, we want a job so that we will not be in gangs. And I stopped what I was doing then because I knew that they were 13 or 14. So I thought, wait, have people approached y'all about being in gangs? And one of the twins looked at the rest of them, and they said, well, tell the truth. And they said, yes, ma'am, they have. And I said, wait, you're only 13 and 14. And we said, yes, we know we're only 13 and 14. But remember that people come to our doors all the time and knock. And I said, to be in gangs? And they said, yes. So I thought, okay, wait. So I immediately called Mr. Pickett, who's our maintenance director, and said, we've got to find something for these 4 boys to do. We've got to put them to work. We've got to put them to work, and it's got to be something that's not just a Band-Aid. I just don't want them picking up paper. I want to create a long-term thing that they have some skill sets. So Mr. Pickett immediately talked about putting things together like inventory, teaching them about inventory, how that works. And we talked about a mailing system where they can deliver some of our mail that we have to residents. And then he talked about learning an actual trade, and they built a table. Then they worked in the garden, so we talked about planting and things like that.
Awesome.
So we wanted them to be that, what they needed to be, but not just, okay, let's just do it for these few months and then we're gone and they're gone bye-bye. So we've stayed with them the entire time. They've come back this summer. They're working back in maintenance. They're in school, and their teachers keep in contact with us all the time, letting me know. I mean, they text me and say, hey, Dalik's acting up today, Miss Heard, and all I have to do is really call and speak to him, and he kind of changes. So we didn't want those 4 boys to get trapped into this gang activity, hoping that it encourages other boys and girls that so they wouldn't do the same thing. So we knew that it was vital for them to actually get in here, get it done, get what they needed. We knew that that was essential for them. We knew it was. So we did, and they're not in gangs.
That's great. That's great. And I'm going to ask you one more question, and we'll let you get out. I know you're busy. Just tell us about maybe one or two awards that you received in the last 3 years because of the work that you've done here at the Housing Authority.
Well, one thing that we pride ourselves on is our newsletter, because we think that that's another way to communicate with our residents. And we didn't want to go with the standard one that maybe was black and white. We wanted to liven it up, and we wanted all positive stories. So we find residents that are successful, making successful things, going back to school, doing things. So we won Newsletter of the Year at the what we call the Georgia level, because we're in Georgia. And then we competed and we won the Newsletter of the Year at the Southeastern level, and that's the highest that you can actually win for our newsletter. And then recently, just a couple of weeks ago, we got in the mail, they have these National Merit Awards that we can receive, because we have a leadership academy here where our adults participate in the academy. They go through a 12-week course. Those classes, anything from self-esteem, CPR, darkness to light, living healthy, job training, public service, giving back. And we have this academy, and they have a graduation at the end. They have to complete it. They have to graduate. So we won the National Merit Award for our Leadership Academy.
Wow. Awesome. It's been a pleasure sitting here talking with you. Much success, and lady, as the young folks say, and we are young, continue to do what you do.
Okay, I will, and I appreciate you coming by.
All right, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.